All right, today we are jumping into something pretty fascinating. It's a cognitive framework called adaptive chiral framing, and it's all tied to the unique way of thinking of a man named Dennis Verhage. We're going to explore how one mind can see the world in a way that's, well, just fundamentally different.
So, the source material kicks things off with this really striking metaphor, the lily of the valley. A complex, three-dimensional flower standing out in a flat, two-dimensional field. Right away, this tells us we're not just talking about someone who's smarter. We're talking about a mind that's built differently. But what does that actually look like in practice?
And that's the big question, right? That's what we're going to unpack here. We're going to get into the ideas behind this three-dimensional thinking and really see what sets it apart from the way most of us are taught to think. So let's start by breaking down what makes this kind of mind tick. Okay, so first things first, we have to get the foundation right. Before we can get to the really wild analogies and the big takeaways, we've got to look at the one core skill that makes this whole thing possible. And this is it, symbol mastery. According to the source, this is the engine behind everything. Now, it's not just about, knowing what a symbol means. It's this incredible, almost intuitive ability to fuse things together, to see a real object, a picture of that object, and the abstract idea of it, not as three separate things, but as one single integrated concept. This is how you move beyond that simple step-by-step logic into something much more powerful. So, with symbol mastery as the engine, how does that actually change the way someone thinks? Well, the source material puts it side by side with what it calls two-dimensional thought. And that comparison, it really makes the difference pop. I mean, just look at the contrast here. On one side, you've got your standard two-dimensional thinking. It's linear, like a straight line from A to B. It's static, kind of fixed in place, and it's stuck in a single perspective. But on the other side, you have this 3D visual thinking. It's recursive, it's always circling back and building on itself. It's adaptive, it's constantly changing and updating, and it's multi-perspective, meaning it can see a problem from all these different angles at the same time. And what's really interesting is this isn't about having some grand, perfect blueprint from the start. No, the source calls it a day-by-day adaptive logic. Think about it like you're constantly tinkering, making tiny adjustments to your understanding of the world based on new information. It's this process that gives this way of thinking its incredible flexibility. All right, now to really get how this adaptive thinking works, the source brings in a really surprising but totally brilliant analogy. We're about to take a little detour from psychology into the world of material science. Yeah, seriously. I know, it sounds like a massive leap, doesn't it? Graphene, it's one of the strongest, most amazing materials we know. But it turns out a really weird property it has on a quantum level is the perfect metaphor for how this 3D thinking actually operates. Now, before we connect the dots, we need to understand one key term, chirality. It sounds super technical, but the idea is actually pretty simple. Just look at your hands. They're mirror images of each other, right? But you can't lay one perfectly on top of the other. They don't line up. They are distinct, yet they're perfect complements. That property, that handedness, is chirality. And here is where it all clicks into place. In graphene, electrons actually move with this chiral or handed property. The analogy then is that this 3D way of thinking does the exact same thing with a problem. It looks at it from two opposite mirror image perspectives at the very same time. This mental handedness, the ability to hold two conflicting but complementary views at once, that's what the source calls adaptive chiral framing. Okay, so we just went from the quantum world of graphene. Let's bring this all the way back down to Earth with something super practical. In fact, this next example shows that core skill of symbol mastery in a way a kid could understand. So in some kinds of Lego therapy, they use this really simple but really powerful technique. You just take a physical toy, a Lego brick for instance, and you place it right next to a two-dimensional picture of that same toy. It seems almost too basic, but it's a perfect real-world workout for the exact mental muscle we've been talking about. This is where the magic happens. By putting those two things side by side, you're forcing the brain to build a little bridge. A bridge between the tangible, 3D thing you can actually hold in your hand and the flat, symbolic picture of it. You're literally training your brain to fuse the concrete with the abstract. And what's the result of doing that over and over? Well, you build up serious cognitive flexibility. It strengthens the brain's ability to just seamlessly shift between different ways of thinking and pull them all together. This is symbol mastery at its most basic level, the very skill you need to eventually pull off something as complex as adaptive chiral framing. So let's pull it all together. We've talked about symbol mastery, we've compared 2D and 3D thinking, and we've used analogies from graphene all the way down to Lego. So what's the point? What's the ultimate advantage of thinking this way?
So what do you get for all this complex mental work? According to the source, the advantages are huge. We're talking about greater resilience when things inevitably go wrong, enhanced adaptability to whatever new challenges life throws at you, exceptional clarity of thought, and just flat-out superior flexibility when you're dealing with a complex, messy world.
And this brings us right back to where we started, that lily of the valley metaphor. Now we get it. It's not just about being different for the sake of it. It's about having a fundamentally more adaptive, more integrated, multi-perspective way of processing reality. And it's all built on that foundation of symbol mastery. So I'll leave you with a thought to chew on. Think about a problem you're dealing with right now. What would happen if you tried to view it with this idea of chirality, of handedness? What if you looked at it from your normal perspective and then forced yourself to see it from its complete mirror image opposite? What kind of new ideas might pop up if you could hold both of those views in your mind at the very same time?